My name's Ben Steer. I wrote, directed and animated on a short film called Mamoon. It was made at Blue Zoo Productions, and basically it was entirely made using projectors onto polystyrene sets, which was then filmed live action. The film was actually inspired by the Syrian migrant crisis, which at the time, when I actually wrote it, was featuring a lot in the media. I knew that if I was going to commit to a project like this, I wanted it to reflect how I was feeling at the time. The reason the film got made is because Blue Zoo has this amazing in-house scheme called the Shorts scheme, and they put out basically a brief that anyone in the company is allowed to pitch for. So once you've pitched for it, we all go up in front of the rest of the company, we pitch the idea, and then we have a company-wide vote. And basically whoever gets the most votes goes on to make a short film. But this particular brief really intrigued me. It basically delineated the use of projectors and actual physical light. So I basically pitched this idea of projecting a story of someone having to be displaced because their environment was destroyed and having to move on to a new life and having to adapt to it, but trying to make sure that the story being told with the use of projectors utilised that medium as best it could. It's very difficult to say how long it took because these in-house productions that we do, because we're not working for a specific client, the deadlines are relatively flexible. However, there is an assigned budget to it, so we can't go overboard. We have to kind of know how much time we've got left to work on it. Whereas I put forward the original idea and the outline back in early 2016, I was extremely fortunate in that production didn't even start for another year. So in that time, in my spare time, while working at the company, I was slowly chiseling away and tweaking the animatic and the timing and the story and the plot, and doing research as well. So there was a year of gestation for the pre-production, just in my own time. And then it started production properly in early 2017, whereby we had different people working on it at different times. I didn't start, for example, I might have a character designer working while I was doing something else, and then when the animation started, I was actually directing my main animator, Phil, while I was working on another project. I didn't start working on it full-time myself until spring 2017, and then I was working on it maybe full-time for 6 weeks or something like that. Yeah. What I wanted to do was find references of someone who'd done something similar that I could see what they'd done right and what they'd done wrong. And what I increasingly found was no one had. So I knew that I was actually onto something perhaps unique. On the one hand, it was really exciting to be trying something new. On the other hand, I had no idea if it was going to work. I spent a lot of time just, self-doubting at every stage. Is this going to work? Can I make it work? Feeling in my heart that I was onto something that really could work, but not really knowing if I could personally make it work in the time I had with the resources I had. I do meet students who are extremely keen to get into directing. And I would say to them to keep hold of that dream, but not necessarily believe it's, you have to understand it's not going to happen straight away. So for example, in my case, I went into animating, and I animated for years before I started directing anything. The reason being is that if you're going to tell someone what to do in the industry, you have to have experience of what it is to do their job, at least especially in animation. In animation, you can't tell an animator how to animate, or how to animate differently, or perhaps if they've got the animation wrong, or how to fix their animation, or all these little tweaks, unless you've actually spent time animating yourself, or at least spent time around animators and understanding the language. There is plenty of space for people to rise up the ranks when they show that the innovation and the passion. It's always noticed, and that's how people get. There's certainly potential for anyone who's going into my industry, which is animation, to end up directing things, and also a lot of people now, they're doing it from their bedrooms. There's never been a better time with all the technology and the software that we have, that you can't spend a day every week just working on your own short films. Just look at Instagram; it's full of people with great ideas, making them come to reality. And not only that, but if you persist, people will notice, and then the people start coming to you, and then you start making a name for yourself. And I've seen it done many times.